waves of wrath the stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on.
I have seen him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening dews and damps. I can read his righteous sentence by the dim and flaring lamps. His day is marching on.
My fellow patriots, good morning. Today is June the 9th, 2025. And this is Professor Toto coming to you from the heart of Toto Town, right behind the mic of magnanimity. And we are live on the freedom frequency. Today, we're going to break through the smoke, the fire, the confusion of Los Angeles, the city of angels. I'm going to tackle a constitutional crisis that every American needs to understand. Now, what I'm about to give you is the truth concerning Los Angeles, California. If you've been living under a rock, and for those that wonder where my face is today, I'm still sick under the weather, and you don't want to see me right now, and I don't want to be seen. I honestly don't even want to be live today, but I have a duty to the Republic to keep you educated in these moments of madness. I just released my blog on this very subject. If you have not subscribed to my blog, where you get daily knowledge from my mind, then there's the QR code. You may want to subscribe to that blog. All right, go ahead, share this with your friends, share this with liberals, share it with Republicans, MAGA, share it, because I'm fixing to give you the balanced truth about this saga. Primarily the constitutional crisis that it presents and how Donald Trump can work around that crisis, okay? All right, let's get this class started. My regular class will be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Central. Professor Toto is live and in color every Tuesday night, 7 Central, right here on this platform. Okay, we're going to tackle the constitutional crisis. Now, listen, the images coming out of California right now are not just disturbing, they're devastating. Riots, chaos, anti-law enforcement, anti-ICE protest, entire communities gripped in fear. And what is the cry that we're hearing from all of our fellow patriots? Where is Trump? Send in the National Guard now. And I hear you. I feel you. But Toto Town residents, citizens of this great community, we are not like the left. We do not react from raw emotions. We respond from constitutional conviction. That is what separates us from them. And that means we start with the facts, the law, and most importantly, that beautiful thing called federalism, which makes the foundation of the republic. Now, before we start calling tanks into the street, let's remember what makes us different. We believe in state sovereignty. We believe in limited government. We don't want a king. We want a constitution to be the king. Now, the president according to the Republic, the Constitution, and federalism, does not get to play sheriff in town unless the law allows him to. That's called federalism, if you're taking notes. And it is what separates us from banana republics. Most banana republics are run by emotions of the moment. You and I must step back, and we must make sure that we are not becoming like the left. But, and here's a big but, there is a way for Donald Trump to do this legally, ethically, constitutionally, and most important, abiding by the principles of the Great Republic. Now, this is the door. It is called the Insurrection Act. Now, before I explain the Insurrection Act to you, there is another law that is very important, and it prevents the president. It prevents him from going in and doing law enforcement on a whim, at his will. And you need to be aware in all of your study of that particular law and that particular act. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if you'll bear with me one moment, I'm going to find that law for you, because it is very important that we stand by our principles. Because in doing this, federalism must be respected at all costs. Federalism can never, ever, ever be trodden underfoot for a moment of emotion. So I just want to start off today by making that very plain. The law that I'm referring to is the Posse Comitatus Act from 1878. Posse, P-O-S-S-E, Comitatus, C-O-M-I-T-A-T-U-S. It prohibits the use of the United States military, Army, or Air Force for civilian law enforcement unless explicitly authorized by Congress or the Constitution. Now, remember that word, the Constitution. It forbids the Navy, the Marines, and the National Guard. The Navy, the Marines, and the Department of Defense cannot get involved in law enforcement during peacetime. Now, that is what the liberals are throwing up, is the Posse Comitatus Act. And you need to be very aware of that act so you know how to respond to the insanity that they are throwing up at this moment. So remember, when you're doing your studies, that you want to be familiar with the Posse Comitatus Act, because primarily it is the law that prohibits the president from being a sheriff in town. Okay? So let's continue, and let me show you how Donald Trump gets around the Posse Comitatus Act. All right? It's called the Insurrection Act. I'm going to read it to you. Whenever unlawful obstructions, combinations, or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws, the president may use armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Insurrection Act. It is not a loophole. This is a constitutional clause carved out for moments just like Los Angeles. I started this podcast with making sure that we remember we don't just scream for the president to become the sheriff. Let's make sure we're doing it by the Constitution. And in fact, we are. Why? Because what we're seeing in LA is not just chaos. It is not just mischief. It is an organized, ideologically driven rebellion against federal immigration law. This is not a rebellion against the state of California, nor the city of Los Angeles. This is a rebellion against the third tier of government, federal government. That means, according to the Insurrection Act, the president and only the president has the right to say enough is enough. If California will not enforce immigration law, I will. Let me break it down for you. When ICE agents are blocked from doing their jobs, when cities pass laws to shield illegals, when mobs attack federal buildings or interfere with deportation orders, that is unlawful obstruction. That is the qualifier to trigger the Insurrection Act. That is a combination of rebellion against the federal government. That is a direct assault on federal law. And according to the Constitution, which is king, the president not only has the right, but the duty to respond. Donald Trump took an oath to defend the Constitution. And if he does not take action, he has in fact violated that oath to the Constitution, which demands him to restore order against rebellion to the federal government. So I started off making sure that we're not demanding for a sheriff to come from Washington and do the job of a local sheriff. However, if that local sheriff will not do the job, then the Constitution demands the president to do so. Now, hear me loud, hear me clear. This does not mean that Trump should roll in with tanks like Tiananmen Square. No, sir. This isn't about overreach. It's about restoring the balance. Conservatism, which we all claim to be conservatives, the very foundation of conservatism means caution. It means order. It means honoring states' rights while defending national law. That is the beauty of our republic. Trump at this moment must act wisely, legally, and righteously. And the Insurrection Act gives him just enough authority to walk that line. And let's be honest, the same Democrats that are screaming states' rights today were begging for Trump to deploy military force against January 6 protesters. This is a hypocrisy alert, Toto Town. When they riot, it's speech. When we speak, it's an insurrection. Don't buy it. Don't flinch. And above all, don't forget the Constitution. In Toto Town, we adore the Constitution. So what should Donald Trump do? If this rebellion continues, if ICE is being obstructed, if federal buildings are under siege, if mayors defy federal authority, then Trump should declare that federal law must be executed and use the Insurrection Act to restore what California will not. Now, ideally, the way this is supposed to work is the governor of that state invites the president to bring in forces to help calm the riots. But we know that's not going to happen with Newsom. Therefore, if they will not do it, Trump must. He can do it legally. He can do it constitutionally. And at the same time, honor federalism and the great republic. So, my dear friends, we're standing in a moment that demands wisdom over rage, truth over propaganda, principle over panic. Let's not just want Trump to do something. Let's want him to do the right thing, the constitutional thing. Let us make sure that we are true conservatives, which means caution. Because if we want to save the republic, we have to start by acting like we still have one. This is Professor Toto signing off of the Freedom Frequency from the Lincoln Library in downtown Toto Town, where liberty lives and truth has a megaphone. Until next time, stay free, stay bold, most of all, stay constitutional.